On July 14th, a man sat down in front of Congress and said something that made almost no headlines the next morning. But if you owned gold or silver, that sentence should have stopped you cold. Nobody warned you. No alert went off on your phone. And yet, what happened in that room may end up shaping what your savings are worth a year from now. Here's the strange part. The man speaking wasn't a senator or a Wall Street trader or a talking head on cable news. He was Kevin Warsh, the new chairman of the Federal Reserve, sitting in front of the House Financial Services Committee for the very first time since taking the job. And what he said, and what he refused to say, is why we're making this video. If you're interested in money, investing, gold, silver, and protecting your financial future, subscribe to Money Insights and like this video, because every week we break down the biggest financial stories in simple English. You don't need a finance degree to understand what's coming. You just need someone to walk you through it. That's what we're here for. So let's start with a question that matters. Why does one Tuesday in Washington, one man's testimony, one sentence about inflation matter to a retiree in Ohio, a truck driver in Texas, or a young couple trying to buy their first home? Because Kevin Warsh didn't just talk about inflation, he talked about tolerance, or rather the lack of it. The members of our committee have no tolerance for persistently elevated inflation, he told lawmakers. Sounds simple, right? Almost boring. But sit with it for a second. That's not a promise to lower prices. It's a promise to fight hard against prices rising further. And fighting inflation, historically, means one thing above all else: higher interest rates for longer than people expect. And higher interest rates are the one force in the financial world that gold and silver investors watch like hawks. Here's where everything changes. Warsh became Fed chair in May of 2026, stepping into a seat vacated by Jerome Powell. It was his first time back at the Fed in over a decade. He'd served as a governor years earlier, during the 2008 financial crisis, when he was still in his 30s. Back then, he watched Wall Street nearly collapse. Now he's the one holding the wheel. But something strange happened at his very first meeting as chair back in June. Something almost nobody outside financial circles noticed. He didn't submit his forecast. Every quarter, Fed officials submit anonymous predictions for where interest rates should go, a chart called the dot plot. It's been part of how the Fed communicates since 2012. Investors, banks, and everyday savers all use it to guess what's coming next. Warsh skipped it. He became the first Fed chair in 14 years to sit out his own institution's forecasting tool. Think about what that means. Imagine your pilot refusing to tell you the flight plan midair, not because there's an emergency, because he wants you to trust the instruments instead of the chatter. That single decision sent a message louder than any speech could. This Fed, under this chairman, was not going to hold anyone's hand through uncertainty. And uncertainty, as any gold investor will tell you, is exactly the kind of atmosphere that moves precious metals. Now, here's the part most people completely miss. The very day Warsh was officially nominated back in January, gold did something dramatic. It opened near $5,500 an ounce. By the time the market closed that day, it had fallen to around $4,700. In a single trading session, gold erased a chunk of the gains that had taken months to build. Picture that for a moment. Imagine watching your retirement account drop by a meaningful percentage in a single afternoon. Not because of a war, not because of a crash, but because of who was chosen to run the Federal Reserve. That's the kind of power one appointment can carry. And it's why so many gold and silver investors have spent this year trying to read Kevin Warsh like a book, searching every word for clues. But here's the twist nobody expected. Just weeks after that sharp drop, gold and silver did something else entirely. They surged. In early July, at a global gathering of central bankers in Sintra, Portugal, Warsh spoke again, and this time markets reacted the opposite way. Gold jumped over 2% in a single day, crossing $4,100 an ounce. Silver moved even faster, climbing nearly 4% to touch almost $62. Why the flip? Because Warsh, without promising anything specific, described the coming rate decision as a family debate. Not a done deal, not a certainty. A debate inside his own institution about whether to raise rates again. That single phrase told investors something important. If the Fed itself isn't sure, then maybe the aggressive rate hikes markets had been bracing for weren't as locked in as feared. And for gold, uncertainty about tightening is often more bullish than clarity about easing. This is where the story usually gets complicated, and where most explainers lose people. So let's slow down and make this simple. Imagine the economy as a giant thermostat. When prices rise too fast, that's inflation. The Federal Reserve can turn up interest rates, like turning down the heat. Higher rates make borrowing more expensive. Mortgages cost more. Car loans cost more. Business expansion slows down. In theory, demand cools off and prices stop climbing as quickly. But higher rates come with a side effect that matters enormously for precious metals. Gold and silver don't pay interest. If you can earn 5, 6, 7% in a savings account or a bond, holding a bar of gold that pays you nothing starts to look less appealing. That's why rate hikes often pressure gold prices downward, and why rate cuts, or even just hints of rate cuts, tend to send gold higher. Now, here's the part that should give you pause. For most of this year, the two men doing that Fed thermostat dance have been dealing with more than an ordinary inflation problem. In February, war broke out between the United States and Iran. Oil prices spiked. And oil, historically, is one of the fastest ways inflation spreads through an entire economy, from the gas pump to shipping costs to the price of literally everything sitting on a store shelf. At the same time, something else has been quietly pushing prices up. The artificial intelligence boom, data centers, advanced chips, industrial equipment. Demand for the physical infrastructure of AI has been so intense that it's contributed to rising costs across the technology and equipment sectors, costs that eventually show up in inflation reports. So Warsh inherited a strange, layered puzzle. War-driven oil shocks, AI-driven equipment costs, and a public that had already lived through years of elevated prices at the grocery store and gas station. Imagine walking into the same grocery store you've shopped at for a decade, filling the same cart you always fill, and realizing it costs meaningfully more than it did just a year or two ago. That's not an abstract statistic. That's the lived reality that's been shaping how ordinary Americans feel about their money. Parents budgeting for school lunches, retirees watching fixed incomes stretch thinner, small business owners recalculating margins every quarter. That emotional exhaustion is part of why Warsh's no-tolerance language on July 14th landed the way it did. It wasn't just policy talk. It was a signal that the Fed feels the same pressure the public feels and intends to act on it. But acting on it means something specific for gold and silver holders. It means the possibility of another rate hike is still on the table. Here's where the mystery deepens. On the very same day Warsh testified, July 14th, the government released the June inflation report, and it came in better than expected. Annual inflation cooled to 3.5%, down from 4.2% the month before. Still well above the Fed's long-standing 2% target, but a real improvement. Traders reacted almost instantly. Odds of a rate hike at the Fed's late July meeting collapsed, from over 40% the day before down to under 20%, according to market pricing data. Investors breathed easier. Stocks rose, and for a moment, it looked like the story might be simple. Inflation cooling, rate hikes fading, gold set to benefit, but, and this is important, nothing about this story has stayed simple for very long. Because Warsh, even while acknowledging the improvement, refused to declare victory. He warned that the risk of an energy shock spilling into other categories of consumer prices hadn't disappeared. In other words, don't get comfortable yet. Some analysts believe the real test isn't July at all. It's what happens in the months that follow, when the Fed meets again after summer and this time has to decide, with a full quarter of new data, whether the family debate tips toward hiking rates or holding steady. Markets, as of early summer, were pricing meaningful odds, some estimates put it around 60%, of at least one more hike by the end of the year. That's not a guarantee, it's a probability, and probabilities shift by the week. But it's enough uncertainty to keep gold and silver investors watching every single Fed appearance, like it's a plot twist in a thriller. Now, let's zoom out, because there's a bigger pattern hiding underneath all of this, one that has almost nothing to do with any single interest rate decision, and everything to do with what's happening beneath the surface of the entire global financial system. The United States government currently carries roughly $39 trillion in debt. Let that number sit for a second. $39 trillion. At current average interest rates on that debt, the government is now paying more than $1 trillion a year just in interest, something like $2.9 billion every single day, whether the economy grows or not. Imagine a household that owes so much on its credit cards that just the monthly minimum payments eat up a massive share of the paycheck, no matter how much overtime gets worked. That's roughly the position the U.S. government finds itself in, except multiplied by hundreds of millions of taxpayers and stretched across generations. This is where central banks around the world enter the story, and where the plot takes an unexpected turn. Since 2022, central banks globally have been buying gold at a pace of roughly 1,000 tons per year, absorbing somewhere between a fifth and a quarter of all newly mined gold on the planet. Not because they're panicking, because historically, central banks treat gold as insurance against exactly the kind of debt-driven currency uncertainty the United States is now facing. And according to a recent World Gold Council survey, close to 9 out of 10 central banks expect to keep adding to their gold reserves over the next year. Ask yourself, why would the world's most powerful financial institutions, the ones with access to every data model and every economist, keep stockpiling a metal that pays no interest and just sits in a vault? Historically, the answer has been the same: trust, diversification away from any single currency, and a hedge against the kind of debt spiral few politicians like to discuss out loud, That's not a guarantee gold rises. Prices can and do fall, sometimes sharply, as we've already seen this year. But it is a signal about how the most sophisticated financial actors in the world are quietly positioning themselves, regardless of what happens in any single Fed meeting. Silver tells an even stranger story, one that connects directly back to that AI boom we mentioned earlier. For 6 consecutive years, according to industry estimates, the world has used more silver than it has mined. Solar panels, electric vehicle components, and the exploding infrastructure behind artificial intelligence have all pushed industrial silver demand to record highs. Unlike gold, silver isn't just a monetary metal, it's a physical input into the technology reshaping the modern economy. That combination, monetary uncertainty pulling investors toward gold and industrial scarcity pulling manufacturers toward silver, is part of why silver actually outpaced gold's gains during that early July rally in Sintra, climbing faster in percentage terms than gold itself. Here's a small detail that changes everything about how professionals watch this market. The gold to silver ratio, essentially how many ounces of silver it takes to buy 1 ounce of gold, compressed sharply during that rally, dropping into the mid-60s. Historically, when that ratio tightens quickly, it often reflects silver playing catch-up after lagging gold for a stretch. Whether that pattern continues is something analysts are still watching closely, not something anyone can promise. So where does that leave the ordinary investor? The school teacher with a retirement account, the small business owner who bought a few silver coins as a hedge, the young professional wondering whether now is the time to start? Some major Wall Street research desks have published price targets for gold well above where it trades today, figures ranging from the low 5,000s to as high as $6,000 an ounce by the end of the year, according to published forecasts from firms including Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and others. Other analysts, including strategists at Macquarie, have taken a more cautious view, suggesting prices could actually average lower next year if global growth stabilizes and central banks eventually ease policy. Both of those outlooks can't be fully right. And that's exactly the point. Nobody, not Warsh, not the analysts, not this video, can tell you with certainty where gold or silver will trade a year from now. What we can tell you with confidence is why the uncertainty exists and why it traces back again and again to that single hearing room on July 14th. Because every rate decision from here forward will be shaped by the same tension Warsh described as a family debate. Hike further to stamp out inflation, and gold likely faces headwinds as returns on safer assets rise. Hold steady or eventually cut, and gold historically finds new support as the opportunity cost of holding it drops. History offers a strange parallel here, one worth pausing on. Back in the late 1970s, inflation in America ran hot for years, chipping away at savings and paychecks until a new Fed chairman, Paul Volcker, arrived and raised interest rates aggressively, high enough to trigger a painful recession, but eventually high enough to break inflation's back. Gold, during that era, went through wild swings of its own, soaring as fear spread, then falling hard once the Fed proved it meant business. Investors who panicked at every headline during that decade often made worse decisions than those who understood the underlying pattern. Tight monetary policy eventually wins against inflation, but the path there is rarely smooth. Nobody is saying Kevin Warsh is Paul Volcker, and nobody knows if today's inflation problem will require anything close to that level of pain. But the psychological pattern rhymes. A new Fed chair walking into an inflation fight inherited from someone else, testing how much the public and the markets will tolerate before demanding relief. And that raises an uncomfortable possibility, if you want to say out loud. What if the easiest path for the Fed isn't the path most favorable to gold at all? What if further rate hikes, painful as they'd be for borrowers, become the price the country pays to finally put years of elevated inflation behind it? That's not a guaranteed outcome. It's a possibility investors are watching for. One more reason. July 14th matters more than it appeared to on the surface. Consider, too, how this story touches people who've never bought an ounce of gold in their lives. A young professional with a 401k might assume none of this affects them because their retirement account holds stocks and bonds, not bullion. But interest rate decisions ripple everywhere. Higher rates raise the cost of a mortgage for a family hoping to buy their first home this year. They raise the interest a small business owner pays to expand their shop. They shift what a retiree earns on a certificate of deposit at the local bank. Every decision Warsh and his colleagues make in that building in Washington eventually reaches a kitchen table somewhere in America, even if it takes months to arrive. That's why this story isn't really about gold and silver at all, not entirely. It's about a chain reaction, one that starts with a testimony most people scrolled past, moves through interest rates, and ends up shaping how far a paycheck stretches at the grocery store. Here's an unexpected consequence worth sitting with. Some analysts believe that even if the Fed does hike rates again later this year, the move could be short-lived, a single adjustment meant to send a message, rather than the start of a prolonged tightening cycle. if that turns out to be true, any dip in gold or silver prices around a hike could end up looking, in hindsight, like a temporary air pocket rather than a lasting reversal. Markets often overreact to the announcement itself and recalibrate once the dust settles. Of course, the opposite is also possible. If inflation proves stickier than the June report suggested, if that energy shock Warsh warned about does spill into other categories, the Fed could find itself hiking more than once, testing the patience of anyone holding non-yielding assets like gold and silver for an extended stretch. That's the mystery this entire year keeps circling back to, not whether inflation is a problem, everyone agrees it is, not whether gold and silver matter. The data on central bank buying and industrial silver demand settles that. The real mystery is which direction the Fed, under a chairman who won't even commit to his own institution's forecasting chart, ultimately leans. And here's the emotional realization worth sitting with. Whether you own a single silver coin or nothing at all, the people making these decisions in Washington are dealing with genuine uncertainty too. Warsh isn't hiding a secret plan. He skipped the dot plot because, by his own account, he doesn't want to pretend to a certainty the data doesn't support. That's not weakness. In a strange way, it's honesty about how unpredictable this moment really is. Geopolitical shocks, an AI-driven economic transformation, and a debt load that no single Fed chair created and no single Fed chair can fix. For everyday people, parents, retirees, workers building a nest egg, that uncertainty can feel frightening. But it doesn't have to. Historically, moments exactly like this one, layered, uncertain, contradictory, are when patient, informed investors do their best thinking, not their worst panicking. Markets often overreact to single headlines and correct over time as more data comes in. Investors watching this closely aren't trying to predict next Tuesday. They're trying to understand the forces at play well enough to make calm decisions instead of fearful ones. One more open loop worth closing before we get there. Remember that strange, sharp drop in gold on the day Warsh was first nominated back in January? At the time, it looked like the market was punishing him in advance, as if traders had already decided he'd be aggressively hawkish. But by July, after the central remarks and the softer inflation print, gold had clawed back well above that January low, trading in the low 4,000s. The lesson isn't that gold always recovers. It's that a single day's reaction, even a dramatic one, rarely tells the whole story. The full picture only emerges testimony by testimony, meeting by meeting, data point by data point. So back to that title, the one that brought you here. Why should gold and silver investors watch this before the next big move? Because the next big move in these markets likely won't come from a mysterious algorithm or a secretive insider trade. It will come from a room in Washington, from a testimony most people scroll past, from a phrase like family debate or no tolerance. That sounds routine until you understand what it's really signaling. Kevin Warsh sits at the center of that signal right now. Not because he wants unchecked power over your savings. By his own words to lawmakers, he insists the Fed remains independent, following the law and the data rather than any political pressure. But because the office he holds happens to sit at the exact intersection of inflation, interest rates, debt, and the price of the two metals humans have trusted for thousands of years. Knowledge, not fear, is what turns uncertainty into opportunity. Nobody watching this needs to panic about gold, silver, or the Fed. What's useful is simply understanding the pattern, that every hearing, every family debate, every inflation report from here forward will keep nudging the story in one direction or another, and that paying attention early is what separates informed investors from those caught off guard. That's the real takeaway from July 14th. Not a prediction, not a guarantee. A clearer lens on why the next move, whenever it comes, won't be random at all. If you learned something new today, make sure to subscribe to Money Insights and like this video. More powerful financial insights are coming next.